Introducing Drayden and King Kubis. Welcome to Dimensions Creating Characters. So, King Kubis, we'll start with him. He is, in case you hadn't guessed, he's the king of a land where everyone just has cube heads, with a space, huge space story. So I figured there'd be at least one species that's a little oddly shaped, and this is certainly one of them. So yeah, of course, not every day you see someone with a square head. But yeah, so let's get him together. So as for King Kubis, he has been at war with his brothers since they were young kids, right? There's this other neighboring kingdom which they were fighting, and because his brother didn't get the throne, his brothers had to go and join that side and continue leading their armies and their men to try and take over. So, just for some context, the planet in which the Cubic Kingdom is on, it is a planet entirely filled with water. So it's basically a huge ocean planet, except for one big island which the Cubic Kingdom is on, and a bunch of little tinier islands which the other kingdom has to essentially survive on. I say survive and not thrive because this entire ocean planet is filled with just huge sea monsters, especially because just not enough of the land people to be fishing and killing them off, so they're just be able to thrive and grow. There's always huge sea monsters and animals that come up and try and eat the boats every time they go across. So anytime there's an actual battle that's not just them shooting missiles at each other, it's usually a huge deal, or there's something like really grave going on. So yeah, that is the history of the wars between the Cubic and the Prism Kingdom, the other kingdom that is warring with them. But yeah, so how he ties into the Star Team, if you've been following along, you know there's a team of heroes trying to assemble warriors from each kingdom to try and go and face a greater threat. And King Kubis, instead of sending one of his warriors or one of his best soldiers or leaders, he actually himself decides to go and join this army, which no other ruler does. He does this because he's one of the only people in his bloodline because of his bloodline, who can wield a gem known as, it's basically huge, actually not really that huge, it's basically a small cube like this. It's very powerful though, and it's been in his family line for a while, and it's a very powerful artifact that only he can wield. His son, he does have a son that could wield it too, but he decided instead of sending his son, he himself would go, and his son would rule in his place. So that is why King Kubis decides to join the battle. Now, as for the Cubic Kingdom, of course, it is a little bit, it's pretty much stating exactly what they are, cubes. We are looking for some alternate names potentially, so if you have any ideas for what this race of cube-headed people could be called, or even what the name of the kingdom could be, definitely leave it in the comments. We'd love to hear some ideas, but yeah, I figure for now, get the idea across Cubis, all that good stuff. But yeah, his full name is King Kayden Kubis, so there is that. But yeah, so let's talk about the droid here, Drayden. So Drayden is an AI who was built by Cubis when he was very, very young. So essentially the two grew up together. Now, of course, Drayden's AI was very weak, but at this point he can almost talk as if he's a regular human, or at least communicate like that, because he basically grew up with King Kubis. So it's almost like after he's replicating his behaviors and everything, he almost grew up as a human would. So that's been a very interesting dynamic to explore there. And yeah, he's great with he can fly out and fix different things going wrong on the ship. So I don't know if you guys saw in the thumbnail, but he's got this huge propeller thing which allows him to fly. And he can also, shoot blaster bolts out of his hands, all that good stuff. So he's definitely able to be a good help in a fight there. So yeah, and as for his general character, he tries to, just to guard King Kubis whenever he can, and of course help out the other members. And his primary goal in all this is to find others like him, because even in the present timeline, because the Star Team is something that happens in the past, sort of a prequel to the series, but especially in this time, AI just wasn't a normal thing. Like Cubis only ended up building him under very special circumstances. There just aren't a bunch of other people like him, so it'd be nice for him to be able to connect with other people, and thankfully he does in the story. Find other AIs or robots that, well, not only just robots, but also people who can actually think on the same level that he can as well. Because again, most AIs in this timeline are just not as cognitively there as he is. But yeah, let me see. Last thing I'm gonna do is build the sword of King Kubis, because he's got his staff here. I think he went off screen for a little bit, but he's got his staff here. But of course, he's also got this sword he can pull out just in case. And yeah, that is Drayden and King Kubis. I'm gonna show them to you guys up close. And here we have Drayden and King Kubis. Thank y'all so much for watching. As always, tune in next time to see more characters, and have a great rest of your day.